I made this 92-page art book in 6 months with a successfully launched Kickstarter to fund the whole project. And if I, as a small artist, can do something like this, then you too can also create and publish your very own art book. In this video, I'll be breaking down exactly what I did in making this bad boy and how you too can make your very own art book with these 5 steps that I'm going to be showing y'all in this video. For a successful art book, you need a master plan to jumpstart your full project. This is the first and most important steps out of all the steps in making an art book. And when I was starting my book, I literally took 2 full months prior to the 6 months just for planning this whole book. Now, your book might be easier, you might just need a week for planning. And I'm gonna be showing you 4 things that you need to have planned before you do anything else. Starting with what your book's story is gonna be, or how you will guide your reader throughout your full book. So for my book, I made a world story for at the very beginning of the book to give the reader some context. I then wrote my main story that will take place in the full art book, then took that main story and turned it into a page order and layout so that I could visually see the spreads and what would go where in the book. Now that you have your basic story in place, you have to figure out 3 things: your minimum viable product, your wants, and your wishes. And these will be all written down as lists. For the minimum viable product list, you want to make sure it's more conservative, something you think you can actually do. And then with the want list is something you would like to have in the book, but it's not your minimum viable product. And then for your wish, it is like, I wish I could have this in the book. Then from my 3 lists, I made a pitch deck of everything that I wanted for this book. So for my minimum viable product, my goal was to have a self-published art book with at least 50 pages full of art and story. Moving on to the next 2 plan item, the art style, or what exactly your art is gonna look like throughout the book. And for my book, I really wasn't sure of what I wanted just yet, so I made this mood board, but it ultimately took me some time to figure out the art style that I wanted, which you will see later in the next section of me going into making the content. The next planning step is to build a project calendar with all of your deadlines. Now for my project, I literally made a full calendar of all of my deadlines and when I would be doing things per month, per week. But for you, this could look entirely different. Like you could use Trello and write down all of your tasks, or just make weekly and monthly to-do lists. Whatever you decide to do, make sure your deadlines are clear and that you can track your progress. Okay? The worst thing you can do is make a goal and then not even accomplish your goal. That's just sad. Oh, and one more thing, make sure that you are factoring in a little bit of wiggle room because sometimes parts of projects can take longer than expected. Now here we are at phase 2 of making your art book, and this is the phase of making all of the content that will go into your book. So the art, the text boxes, the graphics, whatever else you're putting into it. Now for me, this was the longest part in making my art book, and that's because it took 5 months out of the 6, and that's just because I was making brand new art for my book. Now you don't have to make all new art for your art book. If you already have art for your book, then just skip this step and compile all of your art together and write everything so that it's nice and cohesive. I did not make one of those books where you already have art made and just throw it together into a singular book. So I had a lot of work put into this book. So the first part of me making all the content for inside the book, I had to establish an art style and overall just figure out a art process so that I can quickly speed through making a lot of art. So this all started with me designing the 2 main characters with quick color thumbnails, which from there I went to the first design pass, but ended up changing the style to this. With the style and process established, I then moved on to making a lot of art and text assets to go into my book, and I put together an alpha build, which in non-game dev terminology is a test print. But keep in mind, you don't have to make something like this. I just did because it was nice. Now for my test print, I didn't have all the pages, I only had 17, so it's pretty thin, but it was a test to ultimately see how the art would look and a potential layout for the final book. From this print, I was confident in the direction my book was going. So I worked my booty cheek off in those next 5 months, making a crap ton of art and text blocks for the book. Now with all of your art made and text blocks typed, this is the part where you throw everything together and make some nice clean spreads for readers to enjoy and marvel at everything you just did. Now for this part, I actually got some help from my amazing friend Mari, who is a UI and UX designer. And she did an absolutely amazing job. She made all the layouts in InDesign, and all I had to do was throw all of my assets into a shared Adobe Creative Cloud library so that she could then take and put into the file. And the cool thing was that I could tweak my art and then put it back into the shared folder, and it would automatically update in her InDesign file. So it just made the process faster, which was nice. And make sure while you are doing your layouts that the total number of your pages for your book is a multiple of 4. It will make your full printing process easier, so just trust me on this and make your page count a multiple of 4. Now we move on to actually printing our book. Now you have to figure out how many people actually want a copy of your book so that when you go to print, you don't have either an excess amount or not enough copies. So for my book, I ended up surveying people through Instagram and email, which got me to like 30-ish people who all wanted a copy. And I added an extra 10 copies on top because just in case there's more people who want one, which brought me to a total of 40 books to be printed. Now that you know how many books you want, you gotta find a company to print your books. So what I did, like any other normal human being, I went and searched up companies and just sent a lot of quotes for what I was looking for my book. And I ended up choosing 48-hour books. 1, because they were affordable, and 2, because they had a super quick turnaround time and I was really needing these books ASAP. But when I contacted them, I had to change the dimensions of my book from 9 by 12 to 9 by 11.5 because they did not have 9 by 12 for hardcovers, which was sad. So we had to adjust everything to fit 9 by 11.5, and Mari was such a trooper because she had to go in and fix everything. So thank you, Mari. We then sent a new PDF file over, and then a couple days later, we got our proof. And pretty much everything looked great, except for this red color because it didn't look the same as on the computer. But we decided not to fix it because I just didn't have enough time and I needed these books. So make sure when you're exporting your PDF that you export it in CMYK and not RGB because printers print in CMYK. So I ended up approving this proof, and then in a week I got all the copies. The next thing you gotta figure out is how you're gonna fund printing your books. You can do crowdfunding or pre-ordering, or maybe you just already have the funds. For my book, before I even ordered them to be printed, I knew that I needed some sort of funding, or at least some way for me to confirm that people wanted a copy of my book and were willing to pay for it, which is why I ended up making a Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is pretty quick and easy to set up. You can just go onto the site and follow the directions. I made my pledge goal $2,000 with 4 different reward tiers. Also, I limited the number of hard copies to 40 because I knew not very many people are gonna be backing this project because I am a small artist and I'm not that popular. Which is why I kept my Kickstarter project pretty modest. I made some marketing graphics and posted them on Instagram and Twitter, and after 30 days my project was fully funded, which was amazing because I wouldn't have to set something else up like an Etsy store, and I could just send everything through Kickstarter. So this is the book. Well, actually, this is the proof that I had because I gave all 40 copies away. But I ended up showing this at PAX East that year, which was pretty awesome, and a number of people really liked the book and wanted to get their own copy, but I was like, no, I ain't got enough. There's a limited edition. I ended up signing all of the copies, and distributing them was pretty easy because most of the people that got a copy I knew in person, so I just gave in person. And there are only like 5 or 7 copies that I had to ship. So pretty painless. This book is something I am so proud to say that I have made. And if you yourself are thinking of making your very own art book, I highly recommend it. Start right now and just start planning it. Follow all the steps that I just gave you and you should have an art book. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this video was helpful and inspired you to make your own art book. If you enjoyed, please like, and to see more art related videos, definitely subscribe, and otherwise I will see you in the next video.